In our video number 9, we are going to learn under the New Economic Policy 1991, privatization. In our previous video, we learned about liberalization, and now let's look at privatization. What is privatization? It is involving the private sector in nation building. It also means reducing the role of the public sector, that which is under the control of the government. The public sector units were given away to the private sector, and the ownership was that of the private entrepreneurs. Now, this would mean a withdrawal of the government from ownership and management. It would also mean outright sale of the public sector units. This is also called as disinvestment. Why was this done? This was done to improve the financial discipline and also to facilitate modernization. Why privatization? When we thought of social welfare and the public sector units would do better, then why privatization? It was because of some reasons, like the poor performance of the public sector units, which could not achieve their goals. And the public sector units gradually became a dead weight or a social liability with unsustainable losses. There was leakage, pilferage, inefficiency, corruption, all of them were rampant. And that's why we thought of privatizing the economy. No doubt, the second 5 year plan assigned a key role to the public sector units. And through the spread of the public sector units, we could diversify our industrial base. And the Indian economy also underwent a structural transformation. People started shifting from agriculture to industry. The GDP also increased. But due to these negative points, we thought of privatization. Let's now look at the advantages of privatization. The first point would be the performance of the public sector units could improve due to private capital and managerial capabilities. That the entrepreneurs would work with 100% commitment and efficiency. Then private entrepreneurs would work in a competitive environment, both domestic as well as international. They would provide strong impetus to the inflow of the foreign direct investment. Privatization promotes diversification of production and generates high profits. The MNCs are the best example. However, the government granted special status to certain public sector units by giving them autonomy and granted them a special status of Maharatnas, Navratnas, and Mini Ratnas. Some of the examples of the Maharatnas are the Indian Oil Corporation, the Steel Authority of India Limited, National Thermal Power Corporation, the GAIL. Okay. And then the Navaratnas had 9 such industries under it. The Hindustan Aeronautics Limited, the Mahanagar Telecommunications Nigam Limited, Bharat Petroleum, the ONGC, Bharat Heavy Electricals Limited, IPCL, Videsh Sanchar Nigam Limited, the HPCL, Hindustan Petroleum, and then the Mini Ratnas. 75 public sector units are under Mini Ratnas or have been given the status of Mini Ratnas. The Airport Authority of India, IRCTC, and the BSNL are some of the examples. However, there are certain disadvantages of privatization. See, we thought of a socialist economy where social welfare or social justice would be our main goal. But due to privatization, socialistic pattern of society fails because this encourages a free play of market forces like the supply and demand. So, what happens over here is in this process of privatization, goods that are produced would be only for those who have means to buy them. That means for the higher sections of the society. So, when prices rise, the weaker sections of the society suffer deprivation. And the best example for this is the Sirsila tragedy that has been mentioned in our books. What is this? Sirsila is a place in Andhra Pradesh, a small town, which is known for its power loom industries. Now, due to privatization of the power supply, there was a substantial hike in the power tariff. And what happened subsequently was that the wages were cut beyond the point of subsistence. They could not support their families. So, the ultimate result was that 50 workers committed suicide, the worst in the Indian economic or Indian history. This is called the Sirsila tragedy. Under the new economic policy 1991, we opened our economies, right? We opened our economies, and globalization was one of the effect of or the outcome of the policies of liberalization and privatization. So, what does this mean? It means integration of the economy of a country with the world economies. That means to be a part of the world economy, one of the players in the world economy. And under globalization, there is free flow of trade and capital across borders. There is greater interdependence and integration. And globalization creates a borderless world with an unrestricted flow of goods and services, technology, expertise between India and the rest of the world. Let's look at the positive effects of this globalization. It gives us greater access to global markets. And how does it do it? It increases the equity limit. There has been an increase in the equity limit from 40%. Okay, so this has increased to 51 to 100%. And the FDI, the foreign direct investment, is allowed up to 100%. So this is one of the effect. Then import and export of goods and services is possible. Then payment of interest or dividend on investment, remittance to meet family expenses. Okay, and then the most important of this globalization effect is the outsourcing. What is outsourcing? One of the most important outcomes of the process of globalization. It refers to a system of hiring business services from the outside world. For example, the call centers, that's very well known today. It also includes services like transcription, clinical advice, teaching. Okay. Then we have recording, film editing, clinical advice, banking services, accountancy, record keeping, many more of that kind. And in the post reform period, India has become one of the destinations for global outsourcing. What are the reasons for this? The reasons are two. One, there is cheap labor and low wage rate for skilled workers. The labor is skilled, but we are working for low wages. The labor is cheap. And the immense growth in the IT sector, the information technology. They're the fastest modes of communication today. Then, the other positive effects of globalization are all restrictions and controls on foreign trade have been removed. What were these restrictions? These were tariffs and quotas. Then there is high technology today and large industries of developing countries have become the important players in international markets. Some of the examples include the ONGC, Tata Steel, HCL Technologies, who have projects in more than one country. If you look at this ONGC Videsh, which is a subsidiary of the Indian public sector enterprise Oil and Natural Gas Corporation, which is engaged in oil and gas exploration and production. It has its projects in 16 countries. Tata Steel. We know this was one of the first private companies that was established in 1907. One of the top 10 global and steel companies in the world today. It operates in 26 countries and sells its products in 50 countries, employing nearly 50,000 persons in the countries. Then we also have this HCL Technologies, one of the top 5 IT companies in India. It has its offices in 31 countries and employs about 15,000 persons abroad. So, those were the positive effects of globalization on India. There are certain negative effects of globalization, though. Globalization is a strategy of those developed countries to expand their markets in other countries. Then it has brought in disparities among nations because, when it is a developed country and the products are produced for the higher income groups, the disparity obviously widens. Then it has benefited only a certain section of the groups, the high income groups, and only in select areas. So, the income and quality of consumption of only high income groups and the growth, has been concentrated only in some select areas, especially in the services sector, such as the telecommunication, the information technology, finance, entertainment, travel, hospitality services, real estate, and trade, rather than vital sectors such as agriculture and industries, which provide livelihoods to millions of people in the country.